All right. So today I want to explore this idea of why I'm so embarrassed to tell people about the plan of me staying home with the kids and my wife continuing to work. And more of a follow up on that is like, should I feel that way? Also sparked by my brother and sister-in-law coming over yesterday, and we were kind of sitting there. It was me, my wife, and the sister-in-law. And my wife goes to her sister and says, "Hey, you want to tell her about the plan?" And I immediately kind of felt that hot pressure of embarrassment, and said, "Nah, I don't want to. I'm tired. Whatever. I think I said I was tired." And she's like, "Oh, okay." She was obviously fine with that. And then I kind of sat there, I was sitting with it, and I'm like kind of looking around. I'm like, why am I embarrassed to tell her this? I knew 100% she was not going to judge me whatsoever. And so I sat with it for a little bit, and then eventually I was kind of thinking to myself, like, now you got to just tell her, right? You can't just, like, you've already kind of had these talks with yourself about how you're like, this is the plan. You're committing to the plan, and then now you're afraid to tell people about it. And kind of the first thing that was triggered in my mind was how I had comparable feelings with some of the side hustles I was doing in the past, and being embarrassed to tell people that I was trying to start, a car detailing business or a marketing agency, or was trading crypto or whatever it was. And then in hindsight, looking back on that and realizing maybe I was embarrassed because I shouldn't have been doing that. Maybe I should have been embarrassed because I was falling into that Peter Pan syndrome we talked about of not like attempting to do something that doesn't necessarily make sense for the situation that you're in, right? Having a young family, and you're out here trying to create some entrepreneurial endeavor while your wife's making all this money and working super hard. And then my thought went to, okay, well, if I'm embarrassed about this plan, and I've been embarrassed about things in the past that didn't work out, that I probably shouldn't have done, then maybe this embarrassment is pointing towards me, towards telling me that maybe this plan is not great. And then I was kind of spiraling, and that's when I got that point. I'm like, no, I got to just tell her the plan. And obviously the question being why I was embarrassed, one of the answers being because it's potentially indicating to me that this plan is not ideal. But again, something I want to sit with a little bit more. But also it kind of comes back to this idea of the mask I've been wearing. And last summer we moved here, and obviously the kids are not in school, so someone has to watch them. And so I was responsible for watching them last summer. Kind of paused this silly side hustle I was doing at the time. And when we first got here, we were in a hotel because our house wasn't ready yet. And so the routine was we'd wake up, we'd eat breakfast, and then we'd go to my sister-in-law's house, this same sister-in-law from yesterday. And we just kind of hang out there all day. And then once we moved into our house, they would come over sometimes, but usually I would just go there just because it was easier. And the idea was, oh, I'll bring them there, and then I can kind of sit there on my computer and do my silly side hustle, at least for a couple of hours. But then ultimately I'd get there, and for the first couple of weeks I did that, but then I stopped doing that and just kind of just like hung out basically all summer. And her husband, so she doesn't work, her husband works. And so I'd be there, and he'd kind of come home from work, and I would immediately have this feeling of like the inadequacy, because I'm sitting here like doing nothing all day, and he's been up since, I think he gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning, he says, to go into work to provide for his family, whereas I'm at her house, playing video games with my kids, or watching them play video games and messing around on my computer, or I don't necessarily even know what I did all day. I do remember being super bored, but then kind of feeling awkward of, I don't want to be working because then I feel like I'm making her watch my kids, which she would have been fine with, but I felt uncomfortable doing that, and also that could also just be cope of me not wanting to work. But yeah, he'd kind of come back, and I would kind of suppress that feeling of inadequacy for sure. But I think the way I kind of presented myself in that scenario, because I was, felt that feeling of inadequacy, is I was kind of overcompensating with the mask of being like this super macho, funny, witty guy. And I think that's kind of how I've presented myself to their family. And then now I'm telling them like, hey, that's actually not the case. I've actually tried all these side hustles and I failed. And now I'm taking a break from all that and watching the kids. I was just embarrassed to kind of admit that, because in a sense you're admitting that you failed. And no one wants to do that. It's a huge blow to the ego, which is kind of why I forced myself to admit that to her, because I knew that's what was going on. I knew that I was protecting my ego, and it was exposure therapy in a sense. And obviously I said it, and she was like, "Oh yeah, no, I understand." And the conversation didn't go super far for other reasons, but which is interesting because, again, kind of going back to this idea of you think you got things figured out and then you don't. I thought I was, to some degree, coming to terms with the plan, and then the first person that I'm supposed to present the plan to, I'm embarrassed to do it. So I thought that was interesting. And that kind of comes to the question of, as I alluded to earlier, like, should I feel embarrassed about the plan? And I think there's in between, while I was doing my sets, I was thinking about, it's kind of like two parts to the question. The first part is, should I feel embarrassed that I've kind of gotten to this point because of my past? And maybe embarrassed isn't the correct word, but there is something I should be feeling about the situation that I'm in and the reason why we have to do this plan. And it's 100% because of like decisions I made in the past that didn't work out. And if I didn't make those decisions, then this wouldn't be a problem, right? If I had worked harder and worked smarter and selected the right thing to do, then I wouldn't be in this situation whatsoever. So it's 100% my fault I'm in this situation, and I think I should feel something about that. I shouldn't just ignore it completely. But then on the flip side, the other part of the question is, moving forward, how should I feel about it? And if I'm constantly revisiting this idea of, man, you messed up, like, how is that serving me in the future? In regards to specifically taking care of the kids, right? If I'm constantly reminded of and telling myself that you're a piece of crap, basically, and a failure and a loser, then I'm going to be pouty and super introspective and kind of be basically blacked out and like in my own thought mind puzzle maze, and I'm not going to be focused on the kids, and they're going to be able to tell. And then they're going to ask me something, and I'm like in the middle of a profound thought, and I'm going to get irritated, and then that's like not fair to them, and then I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, which is prioritizing the kids. And then also, and this is something else about the plan that I'm still kind of figuring out, but for now we'll put that to the side. The second part is, like, how is that going to serve me in attempting to continue to figure out what I'm going to do? Because like now I'm at the point where, at least right now, and I'm kind of like a roller coaster kind of guy. Like, I feel good about something, and then an hour later I feel bad about it, or I go super hard at something for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then I kind of get to a point where then I hate that thing, or I'm no longer interested in that thing. But kind of right now I'm just like thinking, like, how is this even going to work? Like, how am I going to find something else when, number one, I've tried these side hustles in the past and they've all failed, and I had more time to commit to that, whereas now I don't have as much time. I kind of calculated it, and I could probably squeeze in like 15, 20 hours a week, outside of family time, or like not taking away from that, but just when they're asleep, so in the morning or at night. And is that realistic to kind of do a side hustle. And yes, I mean, obviously it is because people have done it. But then I'm thinking, okay, well, what if you pick something, and before you could spend 40 hours a week on this thing, and so you'd realize it's not working twice as fast as only working 20 hours a week on this thing, or less. But then the other part is like, okay, well, now I think I finally got it figured out. My awareness level is rising, and I'll be able to identify faster if something's not working out, or I'll do more due diligence up front to make sure I'm actually picking the right thing. But then I go to, well, I've had these realizations before, these epiphanies, where I've got it all figured out, and then, look where I am now. I'm in the exact same situation I was in before. Now, but then, again, this is just like a debate I'm having with myself. But then, on the other end, like there are things that I have definitely improved upon since then. And something my wife said when we had the conversation this weekend is that, like, of course, like in your court, well, not to say of course for everyone, but at least for me, like in the current present moment, you are going to be better than you were a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? As long as, and it's like, of course, like in hindsight, you're going to be like, I wish I would have done this. Like if I would have known what I know now, then I would have done X, Y, Z differently. And she's like, yeah, like of course, like that's always going to be the case. In 10 years from now, you're going to be a better person, a smarter person, a more wise person, and you're going to be having the exact same thoughts. So there's really no point to think like that, because it's like the sky is blue, water is wet. In hindsight's 2020, basically. And then kind of even stepping away meta from this whole internal debate, it's kind of like, well, how should I even be having this internal debate? Like, what purpose is it serving? Is it helping me achieve my goals even faster? But yeah, I want to just put down, just kind of anchor this, and I wasn't necessarily sure if I was even going to be able to do this because I've got my 4-week-old in the background making all this noise. He might actually be waking up now, but yeah, I wanted to just, that's something that happened yesterday and it was fresh, and I wanted to make sure I could log this and kind of get my thoughts on it. And again, there's really no lesson. Like I don't know what the answer is. I feel embarrassed about my situation, and I feel embarrassed about the plan of me being a stay-at-home dad and my wife continuing to work, and I'm not sure if I should feel embarrassed about it or not. I know for sure that feeling embarrassed about it is most likely not going to help me be, a good dad, a good husband, figure out what I'm going to do next, because I'm going to be internally shitting on myself as opposed to externally focusing on things. But at the same time, it's like, dude, you messed up, and you can't keep messing up over and over and over again and pretending like it didn't happen. And this is kind of the first time I'm admitting to myself that, like, yeah, dude, you messed up. You made some big mistakes. So we'll end it there. He's waking up. We'll be back tomorrow.